Hello Internet and welcome to the channel. My name is Frankie and today we are continuing the build in Jurassic World Evolution 2. In the previous videos we have built an entrance to the park with a nice little lagoon, a large herbivore enclosure for some Cretaceous period herbivores, and then a small carnivore enclosure for a Cretaceous carnivore. If you want to see what happened in those videos, make sure to check them out. They're on my channel. But for now, we're going to be starting to mark out a large enclosure for some Jurassic period herbivores. So we're going to give them quite a lot of space because I always do when it comes to herbivores, as I like to have quite mixed species enclosures. And after playing around so much with the terrain features in the last episode where I was adjusting the levels of the ground, I thought I'd do the same in this one. My basic idea was to have the front be really lowered, like at a zoo, where sometimes the front will have a kind of moat system that keeps the animals from getting to the barriers. They are often a bit further down than you are as a guest. So I kind of like this idea for this enclosure. I thought I'd lower the front portion of the enclosure and have all the water be there, almost like a little stream. And then the further you go back, the more it would raise. It will kind of have a big hill at the back of the enclosure to really help guide your eye. It makes everything quite visible for you, and I can have a lot of trees up there to make it look even larger. Once I was happy with the general landscape, I decided it was time to add some viewing galleries. We're going to do a variation in which galleries we use, the ground level ones and the really long range ones, because it's quite a large enclosure. We need to be able to see multiple parts of it. Then when I was happy with those, I thought it was time to add some trees, just dot them around, make sure it's a bit varied instead of just one large clump. I think it just makes it look a lot more interesting if it's a little bit patchy. Always make sure to do the perimeter a bit more than the rest of it, but it's nice to do little outcroppings of bushes and stuff. And then when I was happy with that, it was time to actually introduce our dinosaurs so we knew what types of food they needed in the enclosure. In this enclosure, we're going to be having 3 different sized herbivores from the Jurassic period. We're going to have Dryosaurus, Stegosaurus, and Diplodocus. Now, I was quite fortunate in that they kind of eat the same thing. There's a lot of fruit involved, so the Diplodocus and the Stegosaurus both eat fruit, whether that be tall or low. So I was able to coat quite a large area with that specific type of tree. And then for the Dryosaurus, they just wanted a leaf. Some ground leaf, so I made sure to concentrate that more towards the front of the enclosure. So the larger creatures will be hanging out closer to the back, and the smaller ones will be closer to all the viewing galleries right at the front, which will allow our guests a nice up-close experience with these smaller dinosaurs. So I just think it works really well doing it that way. Once I've made sure that all of the food requirements are in the enclosure, I can add some trees that I want that I feel like areas are a little bit too bare. I can start to spice it up a little bit, or I could take away, or just add some bushes and stuff on the floor as well. Like I said in the previous videos, the key to getting a natural looking environment is variation. Having a mix of plant life, having a mix of levels in ground and stuff like that, it just really helps to convey this natural looking environment. And now that all of the foliage is in a place that I'm quite happy with, I think we should pop in our smallest dinosaur, the Dryosaurus. This dinosaur is a firm favourite of mine for quite a simple reason, and that's its size. Once you get to the Struthiomimus, Gallimimus kind of size, as in if you go from big to small, once you get there, it takes a massive jump down to the tiny dinosaurs, which I think it's Homocephaly, is that what it's called? The tiny Pachycephalosaurid. It's just, they get stupidly small. There's not much of a gap in between, and this guy fills that gap perfectly. He's a really good in-between size. And he also doesn't really behave like any of the other dinosaurs. So I think he's a really good addition to parks just to keep that variation in dinosaur size and type. So for me at least, he is a very welcome sight in this park. And what you can see on screen here at the moment is me just looking about at some of the different viewing galleries that we have. I wanted to use something a bit different that I haven't used so far because I think it's a good way of directing visitors to certain parts of the park if there are different viewing experiences in each enclosure. So I go for one of the, what I think of as, I know it's called a dome viewing gallery, but I think of it as the meerkat viewing gallery. I don't know about you, but when I was younger, going to zoos and all that, these type of tunnels with a glass dome inside of an enclosure always happen to be with meerkats and stuff. So that's exactly what this makes me think of. So I thought I'd add one of those to this enclosure because there were going to be dinosaurs both up high and down low. They're not going to be in one area. I think it would really benefit from the way that the creatures are dispersed in this habitat. And whilst I'm waiting for our Dryosaurus to arrive in their new home, I think it's time to add a few decorations. So far it's only been foliage, and that's pretty weird for me. We need to add some rocks. I love adding rocks to waterways, they just make it look so much better. So here I'm just going to be adding a variety of rocks. I really like to use the randomizer tool. I think not having to think about what size and what rotation and all that rocks you're putting in, it just really helps the experience. So I really like the rotation tool just to make a nice random scenery round the watering hole. And just as I finish up, some of the Dryosaurus start to arrive and we get to have a little look at them in their new home. I've got to say these guys are just so cute. I think it's their large eyes. They have really big eyes, don't they? I think they're really cute. I quite like the pattern as well. The little spots in amongst the green. Lovely. And whilst we could spend ages looking at the variety of colours that we got, as I like to randomise the colours from the hatchery, I think as they're all in the air now, or in the enclosure, we're going to go and release our second dinosaur for this enclosure. We're going for the mid-sized dinosaur, and that is the Stegosaurus. I really like the colour on this one. This is quite nice, isn't it? I think it's a contrast between dark and light. Yeah, works really well. Look at these beauties. That was a lovely little head wiggle he just did. It was quite cute, wasn't it? I really, really like these guys. I think it's mainly because of their herding animations. Unlike most dinosaurs in the game, these guys really do travel as a herd for most of their time in your parks. It's very strange. I mean, when you have a lot of Gallimimus, they seem to do it as well. But these guys, more than anyone, I've really noticed stick together. And I really like it because it feels a lot more natural and wild. And as you may have noticed, I like to go for a natural feel in my parks. So yeah, I really like these guys. Let's get them over into their new home. So the flares are down, the Stegosaurus are on their way, but whilst we're waiting, let's have a little look at these Dryosaurus again. These guys are about to do one of their social animations. You know, it's like they're grooming each other, kind of like monkeys or something. I like how they both just turn to look the same way as if they heard something and then wander off their own separate thing. Oh, they're all very cute, aren't they? Now that our Stegosaurus are beginning to be airdropped in, why not test out this dome viewing gallery, see what it actually looks like as a guest. I think it's kind of important to test out your viewing galleries like this. I mean, it doesn't really make too much of a difference to your ratings or anything. I just think it's quite fun to be part of the experience. Oh, look, Stegosaurus up on the hill. Okay, they're not too visible at the moment, but that's just because they're figuring out where they fit in their enclosure. I'm always amazed by how big they are. I know like all dinosaurs are big, obviously, but I don't know, that in my head, Stegosaurus should be a bit smaller. But they're absolutely massive. But speaking of massive, why don't we go and release our Diplodocus? You can't beat the majesty of the sauropods. Any long-necked dinosaur just instantly makes me feel calm and full of awe and wonder. They are such beautiful creatures. And their vocalizations, their calls, they're quite haunting, I think. Anyway, let's get them over to their enclosure, these utter beauties. And I'm quite happy with the colour choices here. Got one that's quite light and one that's quite dark. I think that contrast is really nice. Whilst we're waiting, let's just take a bit more of an opportunity to really appreciate our Stegosaurus. Oh, hello, Mr. Dryosaurus there. See what I mean already? Quite a few of them are travelling, like, together. Something I really like about the animation that's been done for all of these creatures is there's a proper sense of weight to them. When they move, there just seems to be a lot of sway, as if though there's a lot of weight going to and fro. It's just been done really well, I think. Now our Diplodocus are in, and after a brief check, they seem to be happy with their enclosure. They seem to have all the things that they need in terms of food, water, and space. And the next thing we're going to do is to start to decorate the outside, because we've mainly been focusing on the enclosure itself, which is fine. But once again, there are no guests coming here. Just like with our previous enclosure, there don't seem to be any interest in this bunch of dinosaurs, which is very strange to me, because how would you not want to see something that big? But anyway, something that I know will work is adding a couple hotels, because people have to go up this path to get to the hotels. If they want to stay here, they're going to have to. So I'm going to place a large and a small hotel facing the lagoon. Actually, I think did I just place too large? Yeah, I did just place too large. Okay, oh well. And I'm going to do a kind of T shape for the path. Keep it nice and simple and straight, just to link them together. And I'll decorate these areas the way I normally do, with plant boxes and stuff, just to line the sides of the paths, make it look nice and pretty. Just spend a little bit of time doing that. These little details can really make quite a big difference to the general aesthetic of the park. It just makes it look a lot nicer. But before I go crazy with decorations, I noticed that the amenity coverage is a little bit low in this area, so I add a shelter, a toilet, and then 3 small amenities, which are the drink shop, food shop, and the gift shop, just to sort of cover those needs in this part of the park. And then we get on to making something pretty fun, which was a picnic area. I haven't done many of these. I did one on the high street, but I thought just to spice this place up a little bit, we'd add one. And I do this simply by using a lighter path than the one I'm already using. Create a squared off area. It's not a perfect square due to the fact that we're on a curve here. And then just fill it in with a larger path, and guests will be able to walk over this in any way they want. Then I can decorate it with various benches and parasols, stuff like that, just to make it look like a bit of a picnic area, which I think is a really nice idea, to be looking over this massive enclosure, have your lunch. Yeah, I think it's quite nice. that brings us neatly to the end of this video. I thought we'd just take a moment to sit back and enjoy our dinosaurs in their new enclosure. Thank you for having joined me for this video. If you did like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and potentially consider subscribing, because we're not done yet, and I think my next enclosure build is definitely my best, or at least most creative. So make sure to stick around so that you can see that. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.